Well, since 1974, home health care workers have been exempt from overtime and minimum wage laws, and that's prevented about 2 million workers from getting overtime. However, the Labor Department has now ruled that home health care workers should now receive overtime. Attorney Jim Higgins with the Higgins Firm recently stopped by to talk about the change in law. Take a look. All right, Jim, another change of the law means a big pay raise for millions of people out there. So tell us about this. What happened here?
Well, most people get overtime if you work 40 hours a week, but there's always certain exceptions to that. And one of the biggest exceptions that's been out there since about 1974, I think, are home health care workers hired through third parties. They never would get overtime. And this is one of the most emotionally demanding, can be physically demanding. I mean, that's a hard job to take care of someone inside their home.
Absolutely.
That they can't. And plus, we've seen a transition in healthcare. You know, used to be automatic, either hospitalization or nursing home, and now a lot of the big health insurance companies are trying to keep people in their home longer. So this role has become more important. So anyway, with this law change, and it's been held by the Court of Appeals now in D.C., home health care workers ought to be getting overtime. Now, the case isn't quite finished yet. The people that are against it, which of course is that industry, may still try to appeal this to one more level. But we'll find out probably in the next 30, 45 days. But if they don't, and you're a home health worker, and you're working over 40 hours a week, then you ought to get time and a half for those extra hours.
Okay, that's good news to a lot of people out there who do this job. So if there is a home healthcare worker out there and their pay does not change, then what do they need to do?
Well, you know, it's probably not going to change tomorrow, but you can always ask your employer about it. I mean, I think when something big like this happens, you can just say, hey, does this change my pay? And hopefully they'll say, yeah, it does, and you know, once this is over, we're going to give you that raise. And I think, you know, a lot of times I have people that are a little hesitant to ask about overtime if they're not getting it from their employer. But it seems to me, with this all being in the news, it gives them a pretty innocent segue to their boss to say, is this going to help me? Is this going to change now? And how's it going to change my job? And so hopefully they'll just tell them. If they don't, and then nothing changes in a couple of months, they're welcome to call our office and see if they have a claim or if they should be getting overtime that they're not.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people out there may just be wondering, well, does this apply to me? Do I get overtime, and when does that apply? Is it just by tracking the hours that they work?
No. So, you know, of course, we have a pretty big employment law section at the Higgins Firm in our office, and we do overtime cases constantly. We have nationwide class actions, and we have small individual cases, and everyone is different. The most common one that we see is people will just get paid a salary, and they think because they get a salary that they're not entitled to overtime. But that is often a big mistake. It really depends on the kind of work you do. So if you're working over 40 hours, you're not really a manager, you're not hiring and firing, you're not doing that type of administrative type work, and you think you ought to get overtime, then call us and we'll let you know what your rights are.
Yeah, definitely sort it out for us. Thanks, Jim, so much.
Thank you.
The Higgins Firm is serving Tennessee. Give them a call at 1-800-705-2121 or go to thehigginsfirm.com.